Oi, what's happening, all yous guys out there? This is Smooth Jimmy on the screen here. You know him. He looks ready. I'm ready. That means this is time for the last Balls Deep breakdown of this week for UFC Vegas 31. We have got Daniel Rodriguez versus Preston Parsons for the last installment of the week. I think this is a very, very interesting matchup. I want to get into all the stats with you guys here. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me live. This is going to be one of those fights. It's a short notice fight. We don't know too much about Parsons, but I've watched the tape on him. We can get into these stats, and we can get into the live viewers who are joining me here. My guy Big Brady in the house. What is up? Thanks for joining me. We got my guy Wayne here. Let's go. Let's go indeed. Let's go balls deep, like we always do about this time, y'all. Let's go. Let's get into the tail of the tape here, which is the way we always start on Balls Deep breakdown. And we see that Daniel Rodriguez, even though he hasn't been long for the UFC, he hasn't been here that long. I remember the debut against Tim Means where he shocked the world, but Daniel Rodriguez is 34 years old. He is getting up there in welterweight years, and he is fighting a very young, very hungry up-and-comer here in Preston Parsons. Speaking of young up-and-comers, we got my guy Tony West in the room. What's up, Tony? We got Dave checking in here, man. All the crew from the DFS by the Numbers Discord hanging out with their Uncle Weezy. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us here, because this is a weird fight, man. This is going to be a strange one. We got to get into all the stats. So yeah, Preston Parsons, 25 years old here. We got a young guy up and coming here, 9-2, 11 fights. We got Rodriguez listed at 6'1". We got Parsons listed at 5'11". Let's see here if these clowns on UFC stats actually updated. Yes, so now we do know that Preston Parsons has got a 71-inch reach, and he is an orthodox fighter. So let me update those stats on the matchup template. And the matchup template is available for free in the description of this video. So I'm just going to do a quick little job here, and we got 71-inch reach and an orthodox stance. So let me just update this here so that we got all the relevant stats for you guys here. So a 71-inch reach, and we got an orthodox stance. Bam. And we'll go back now. So we're going to see who's got the reach advantage here. We're going to see that this is going to be a striker versus, not striker versus grappler, but a southpaw versus orthodox fight here. And Daniel Rodriguez will have a 3-inch reach advantage. So this is a pretty good thing for Rodriguez, because as a boxer, that reach advantage is really going to help him. Also fighting out of the southpaw stance against a less experienced fighter than Rodriguez is in Preston Parsons. We don't know how many southpaws he's had to fight on his way up, but fighting southpaws is always tricky. And even though Rodriguez is a southpaw, he uses his jab really good against orthodox fighters, which is something you don't see too often. But the volume that he throws out is something that you have to really be aware of. Rodriguez has got a lot of volume, and Preston Parsons' nickname is Pressure. And that is something that he brings in his fights too. So yeah, 2-inch height advantage, 3-inch reach advantage, and we got a southpaw versus orthodox matchup here with a very talented boxer in Daniel Rodriguez. So if we're looking at the tail of the tape and we're kind of just starting out with who might have the advantage here, I am definitely going with Rodriguez. Love that reach, love that height advantage, although he is the older fighter here, 9 years older than Preston Parsons. So let's get into the experience numbers here. We see Daniel Rodriguez has got 16 professional fights, and Preston Parsons has 11. A 14-2 record for Daniel Rodriguez, a 9-2 record for Preston Parsons. I've been hearing there's a kind of like a meme going on this week where people are saying Daniel Rodriguez is undefeated, and that Nicholas Dalby decision was an absolute robbery. But what's the other loss on his record? Victor Reina. Oh, yeah, that's right. He lost via split decision to Victor Reina, and I think a lot of people might have been a little bit pissed off about that decision as well. So that meme that D-Rod is undefeated is going on right now, and some people are out there on that train saying that he should be 16-0. And I know that he should be at least 15-1, but I didn't get to see the Reina fight when I researched this one. So, yeah. So we got, in terms of cage time, we've got about 110-minute advantage here for Daniel Rodriguez. Average fight time for Preston Parsons, 4 minutes. And for Daniel Rodriguez, it's 9.63. So we do know that Parsons is somebody who gets in and out of the cage. When we get into the finish stats, we'll see how he finishes fights. But what's important right now to note is that both of these guys have been in the game about the same time. Preston Parsons, 6 years, 10 months. 6 years, 0 months for Daniel Rodriguez. So even though Rodriguez has 16 fights to Parsons 11 and 6 UFC fights to Parsons 0, it's actually Parsons who's been a mixed martial artist for longer here. We looked at Rodriguez in the UFC, 6 UFC fights to Parsons for 0. We are counting the Contender Series fight here. 5-1 record for Rodriguez, 71 minutes of cage time, and about 12 minutes is the average fight time for Daniel Rodriguez thus far. And let's get into the finish stats here. We have got, for overall career, Daniel Rodriguez has a 79% finish rate. So 14 wins, 7 of them have come by knockout, and 3 of them have come by submission. So we got 10 of those 14 wins coming inside the distance for Rodriguez, and 2 of his 5 UFC wins have come inside the distance. 1 by submission, a guillotine choke over Tim Means, and 1 by knockout, which was knockout was against Dwight Grant. What a fight that was. And then we see Preston Parsons here in his career, 100% submission rate. So we got 9 career wins by for Preston Parsons, and every single one of them have come inside the distance here. Very important, as when we look at the losses for Preston Parsons, there are only 2 of them. 1 of them by submission, 1 of them by knockout. And we also saw a 4-minute average fight time. So we can see, that with a killer be killed fighter like Preston Parsons coming in here, 100% finish rate in his wins, 100% finish rate in his losses. 10 out of those 11 professional fights have been finished by submission, only 1 by knockout. This is the definition of a killer be killed fighter. These are exactly the kind of lines that we like to hammer the under on, because when you have 100% loss rate, and then we actually throw in UFC debut, so there's that likelihood of an adrenaline dump, especially for a guy who isn't really used to going more than 1 round. And he's taking this fight on short notice, because Daniel Rodriguez was originally slated to fight Abubakar Nurmagomedov, and Preston Parsons stepping in on less than 2 weeks' notice to fill in for Abubakar. So short notice for Parsons, 100% finish rate in his wins, 100% finish rate in his losses. And then we look at D-Rod, a guy who has a 79% finish rate when he wins fights. This is lining up for a beautiful spot to hammer that under. Once we're done looking through all the statistics here, we'll go through the lines and try to find some angles for us to bet here. But, and Robbie's stopping through the room here, man. What's up, Robbie? Just came through to say what's up. I appreciate you coming by just to say what's up, man. Love breaking down these fights with my guys in the DFS by the Numbers Discord. Let's get to these striking statistics. So unfortunately, we don't have any numbers for Preston Parsons here. But I have watched the tape on Preston Parsons. I can tell you a little bit about him as a fighter. So let's kind of look at what Preston Parsons has done here. Because we do have the numbers for Rodriguez, but we can see that Preston Parsons only has 2 losses in his career, and they're both to guys who actually have UFC experience. And obviously Mike Perry, we all know who he is, but Valdir Araujo trained at Black Zillions when there was the Ultimate Fighter season where we did the Black Zillions against American Top Team. So Valdir Araujo was training with Kamaru Usman and the guys over at Black Zillions. He's got some UFC experience. So the only 2 guys that that Parsons has lost to have UFC experience, and Mike Perry and Valdir Araujo, and he actually has beaten somebody who has UFC experience in Ignacio Bahamondes, getting him by first round armbar in Titan FC. So we do see that he had 3 fights in Titan FC. He is 2-1 in Titan FC with wins over Bahamondes and David Mundell, who came into that fight with a 6-1 record. And then a loss against veteran Valdir Araujo via guillotine choke in the first round. So that's what we know about Parsons. What I can tell you from looking at the tape on Parsons is that he throws a lot of volume. He's got very good wrestling. He gets takedowns, and he tries to finish the fight via submission. Even though he's a very good grappler, he does get a little bit sloppy, sometimes favors submission over position a little bit. He can be reversed. He's had a lot of back and forth grappling wars with people. So while he has finished all 9 fights by submission, he's not this dominant, lockdown grappler that just completely dominates his opponents. He uses his striking in order to set up his wrestling, and then he uses his wrestling to set up his submission game. And with the pace that he puts on people, he can, really wear out lower range, less experienced fighters and get those submissions early. But if we look at going back to the stats here, we can see that Daniel Rodriguez's striking numbers are very impressive. He's landing almost 8 significant strikes per minute out of 16.25 offered. So that is a crazy volume pace. So I would be worried about Preston Parsons' volume if Daniel Rodriguez hadn't seen volume like this before. He is throwing 16.25 significant strikes a minute, and his opponents are throwing 13.26 significant strikes per minute. So in Daniel Rodriguez's 5 UFC fights and 1 Contender Series fight, he's seen the kind of volume that he's going to see from Preston Parsons, and has went the decision to decision in 3 of those wins. So this guy is a guy who can handle the pressure that Parsons is going to put on him. He's got a 48.44 striking accuracy, and he's getting a knockdown 0.72% of the time when he lands a significant strike. So that comes out to 0.84 knockdowns per 15 minutes. If we look at the striking defense, we see excellent stand-up striking defense here at 57.11%. He's landing 7.87 significant strikes and only absorbing 5.69 for a significant strike difference of over 2. So very impressive ratio, very impressive volume, and very impressive defense out of Rodriguez. And I'll tell you one thing, if you watch the tape on this guy, he's an excellent boxer. He does throw most of his strikes to the head. It would be nice to see him go to the body and the legs more, but he's so precise with his hands, and he throws in combination. He's not a one-and-done type of guy. He's not like a point fighter here. What he really does is he throws volume, but he throws in combination a lot, and he is an excellent, excellent boxer. So he throws with a lot of variety as well. He handled a lot of pressure in the Gabe Green fight. If we go to the advanced stats here that are available in DFS by the Numbers Patreon, we can take a look here at these are Daniel Rodriguez's stats, and I want to bring up the Gabe Green fight in particular. We see that there was 900 seconds of cage time, which means that this fight went to decision. And look at the volume here. 344 significant strikes attempted for Daniel Rodriguez, and 175 landed. Against Mike Perry, he landed 129 in a full fight. Against Nicholas Dalby, he landed 83 in a full decision, and then 108 significant strikes. So in his 4 fights that have went to decision, he's only landed under 100 significant strikes once, and that was against Dalby. And in all but 1 fight, he's been basically over 200 significant strikes attempted. We see 223 attempted here in his Contender Series fight against Rico Farrington, 344 attempted, 199 attempted against Dalby, and then 235 attempted against Perry. And we see that, his opponents are throwing quite a bit of volume in their own right at 132, 147, 273 from Gabe Green, and then 227 from Rico Farrington. So, the people who are saying that, Rodriguez is going to have problems with Parsons' pressure, they have to look at the numbers and see that he's faced this kind of pressure and not only faced it, but he's matched it and surpassed it in all these fights. He's throwing more volume than his opponents are. So it's very impressive. Daniel Rodriguez is fighting a very tough opponent in Preston Parsons on short notice here. However, if we go deep into the numbers, we see that he does have the skill set in order to kind of deal with the kind of pressure that Parsons is going to bring. want to say what's up to Libby, who just said that she subscribed. I appreciate that, Libby. I love all my subscribers, man. That's how we grow a channel. I try to bring all this data to back up my opinion so that I'm providing something a little bit different than what most of the guys out there on YouTube are providing. So thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everybody that watches and subscribes to my videos. And then B saying, good to see you putting this up. Thanks, Uncle Weezy. Man, thank you. I appreciate it, B. You're always hanging out with us in here. Thanks for coming out, man. But let's get into these grappling stats now, because we have seen some pretty good offensive wrestling out of Preston Parsons on the regional scene here. But we see that Daniel Rodriguez in his 6 UFC fights, and like I say, we are counting the Contender Series fights, that he is 5 for 9 on takedown attempts. So he's only averaging 1.5 takedown attempts per fight. He's not a very active wrestler. And we see that he only has 1.74% control time and only 7.79% control time against. So that means over 90% of his fights are taking place in the center of the cage at striking range. And if you've watched Daniel Rodriguez fight, you know that's where he's most comfortable. Now, Parsons, if you watch his regional scene footage, and we don't have stats on it, but he's clearly more comfortable wrestling and taking the fight to the ground. But Daniel Rodriguez is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with 10th Planet, and the guy trains under Eddie Bravo. So, the guy's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's not going to be overmatched by the youngster here in Parsons. Excuse me. So I think that Daniel Rodriguez really does have a very nice skill set to deal with the unique puzzle of Preston Parsons here. It would appear to me, seeing this, less than 10% control time for and against, that Daniel Rodriguez is going to want to keep this fight standing. He's going to want to box this guy up, use his volume. And if we look here at the takedown defense of Daniel Rodriguez, even if Preston Parsons does want to get this fight to the ground, we do see that Daniel Rodriguez has shown really good takedown defense thus far in the UFC. 11 out of 14 of the takedown attempts against him have been defended successfully for almost an 80% takedown defense. He is being taken down 0.63 times per 15 minutes. He's never had a submission attempted against him, and only 7.79 control time against. So even when his opponents are taking him down, he's getting right back up. So that's very good to see against an aggressive grappler like Preston Parsons. And we got Wade Graham in the room here, and he's telling us that he trains with Parsons daily, and the guy is a beast. And dude, I believe you, man. I mean, I've watched the footage on this guy, and his gas tank appears to be great. His wrestling is relentless, and he goes for submissions. He's had very high-paced fights, and he's got a 9-2 record. The only guys he's lost to are guys from the UFC level guys. So I believe you, man. I believe he's a beast. But this is going to be a tough matchup on 9 days' notice to come in against a guy like Rodriguez, who, should be 6-0 in the UFC thus far. But yeah, Preston Parsons, I was very impressed by what I saw with him on tape. And Wade Graham saying that is his coach. So I'd be interested to know, which way are you going on this, Wade? If you like Preston's chance to win this fight, tell me how he wins this fight, because I'd love to hear it from somebody who's actually trained with this guy, who knows what his strong points are and what he does best in order to set up the wins that he's gotten. That'd be really cool, man. It's really cool to have somebody that trains with a fighter that I'm talking about in the chat here, man. This is great. Let's see, B saying, that's awesome. You sure you're a biased LOL? But what do you think? Yeah, I mean, of course he's going to be biased if he trains with him. He's going to want him to win. But Graham saying, aggressive grappling, but hands are fast. Works 7 days a week, in shape, great cardio, tough matchup, but I don't see why he can't get this W. I'd love to hear it, man. That's great. And like we say, we've seen this guy on the regional scene, fighting out of Jacksonville, Florida. Dude has got a good team. His camp, Wade, is it still Elevate MMA that we got Preston training out of? I know that's where he's been in the past, but it would be interesting to know. I want to make sure that he's still there. But let's look at the strength of schedule here. For Daniel Rodriguez in particular, because we don't have any opponents for Preston Parsons. We can see that the average opponent that Daniel Rodriguez has fought thus far in the UFC has a 4.67 win and 3.17 loss record. That means 7.83 total fights and a win-loss ratio of 1.47. And what's crazy here is that his wins are more impressive than his losses, but that's because the loss was to Nicholas Dalby, and it probably shouldn't have been a loss. But if we look at Daniel Rodriguez's wins, he's beating UFC fighters that have a winning record. The average opponent that Daniel Rodriguez beats has a 5.2 win and a 3.2 loss record for 8.4 total fights and a 1.63 win-to-loss ratio. So, yeah, Rodriguez's wins were over impressive opponents. We'll get a little bit further into it here. But and then the loss came against Nick Dalby, who's 2-3 when we strip out his fight against Daniel Rodriguez. So he's actually 3-3. Yeah, and then Wade Graham letting us know that, yes, he's still training out of Elevate MMA Jacksonville Beach. Thank you for checking in, Wade. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because sometimes I have to get this information about where they're training from either Tapology or Sure Dog, and some of those sites are behind. And, sometimes these guys switch camps, and I have the old information up there, and I hate to have wrong information, but sometimes that stuff is hard to find. So Daniel Rodriguez's last 5 opponents, a win over Mike Perry. And I know we all hate MMA math, but we do know that Preston Parsons' first MMA loss, they were both 2-0 going into this fight. Preston Parsons 2-0, Mike Perry 2-0, and Mike Perry beat Preston Parsons. Parsons was really looking good in that fight. He was wrestling offensively. He got Mike Perry's back. Was looking really good, but Perry used his get-up game and then nailed Parsons with a knee, and that pretty much spelled the beginning of the end there. And Rodriguez, really pieced up Rodriguez really pieced up Perry, and that's his most recent fight. Interesting to watch that Parsons-Perry fight, because it was a really good fight, back and forth war for as long as it lasted. And it's worth watching just to check out Mike Perry's hair. It was so fucking awesome in that fight. He had the sides shaved and like that line in him, and he had like this spiky kind of mohawky kind of thing. Great hair in that. I wish Perry would go back to that haircut. And then we got the loss against Nicholas Dalby for Daniel Rodriguez. A win, first round knockout win over Dwight Grant, where Daniel Rodriguez was in a whole heap of trouble, and kind of got bailed out a little bit by Chris Taioni, because it looked like Grant was about this close to finishing him. But Taioni let him work his way out of it, and it was a good decision by Taioni. And we talked about that Gabe Green fight. That was a super high-volume fight. So we do know how Daniel Rodriguez is going to deal with pace and pressure, because we've seen him do it in the Gabe Green fight, which is why I'm on Rodriguez here, because, I think that he's really dealt already with the unique challenge that Parsons is going to bring. And then we see that UFC debut against Tim Means, where he beat him by sub. Really impressive performance. Rodriguez got off to a slow start there, but then really started working his boxing game. And once he started to get Means timing and he started to make the adjustments and get comfortable, he started piecing Means up, knocked him down with the last punch of the first round, and then finished him in the second. So really impressive UFC debut there by Daniel Rodriguez. And if we look at, let's see here, let's go to this. Yeah, these are once again the advanced stats available on DFS by the Numbers Patreon. We see the win here against Rico Farrington was the first fight. So he's 0-1 in the UFC, and then the win over a 14-9 Tim Means. Gabe Green 1-1. A win over 4-2 Dwight Grant, and then a win over 7-8 Mike Perry. His only loss came to a 3-3 Nicholas Dalby in a very, very weird decision, where we see that, Daniel Rodriguez landed 83 strikes and Dalby landed 50. And somehow Dalby got the win. And not only that, Dalby was 0-for-7 on takedowns in that damn fight. So how the hell do you give this fight to Nick Dalby? It just makes no sense at all. 0-for-7 on takedowns, and he lands 33 less significant strikes, and it was a unanimous decision win. So that was just bizarre. But yeah, we have seen Daniel Rodriguez fight, I would consider the better brand of competition, and he's beaten the better brand of competition than Preston Parsons. Preston Parsons taking this fight on short notice is going to be interesting, but it's a much different opponent than D-Rod was going to fight, because when you talk about Bubakar Nurmagomedov. That's a lower volume fighter there. He wrestles some. He's got decent striking, but Parsons is a night and day different fighter in terms of the pressure and the volume that he brings is going to be a much different challenge than what Nurmagomedov would have posed to Rodriguez here. Let's look at the lines here because I am looking at Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez opened on FanDuel at -215. At that point when he opened at -215 on FanDuel, most of the other books had him at -240 or -250. So I jumped on it. I thought that there was some serious line value there. And I'm glad I did because now it's -310. And if I want to hedge out of this fight, I've already got Rodriguez at -210. And now I can get Parsons at +240. So I can hedge out if I want. That's kind of nice. But let's look at some of the props here. The method of victory. We got Daniel Rodriguez by KO is -125. Daniel Rodriguez by decision is +400. Daniel Rodriguez by submission +1600. Now that's a very interesting line because Parsons does like to take the fight to the ground, and Daniel Rodriguez is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Eddie Bravo. That +1600 by submission is a very interesting line. He could catch him in one of those guillotine chokes that he's known for, and that I'm going to take a look at that. +1600 just seems a little too wide for me. Why would they're saying that the odds of Rodriguez knocking him out is better than 50%, but they're saying that the odds of Daniel Rodriguez to win by submission is, 16-1. What is that even? That's 95% or something like that. That's crazy. Yeah, the round betting. Let's have a look at the round betting. We've got Daniel Rodriguez to win in round 1 +190, +430 in round 2, +1,000 in round 3. And then Parsons, if you like him to win, and Parsons always gets it done inside the distance, +1,100, +1,400, and +2,200. Will this fight go the distance? The bookies are probably saying no. And wow, how about that? Yes, they are. -290. So they're saying this fight basically goes the distance goes the distance 1 out of 4 times. And then if we want either of these guys inside the distance, the inside the distance line on Daniel Rodriguez is -160, and the inside the distance line on Preston Parsons is +470. So, in conclusion here, as we go and we look back at the stats, all right, let's go here. Preston Parsons, what you're hanging your hat on is that youth as he is 9 years younger, that volume, that pressure, that pace that he puts out. Daniel Rodriguez, the more experienced mixed martial artist, but he is also 9 years older, 34 years old. He's getting up there, but he's got a 3-inch reach advantage. He's a southpaw versus an orthodox fighter, 2-inch height advantage. Both of these guys have had the same length of mixed martial arts career. It's just that Rodriguez has been busier over the 6 years that he's fought than Parsons has. Both of these guys proven finishers, although Daniel Rodriguez has never been finished in his 2 losses. We see that Rodriguez does have really good takedown defense here at almost 80%, successfully defending 11 of 14 takedowns. So even if Parsons does want to get this fight to the ground, he may have a hard time doing so. And I think that, the striking of Rodriguez is definitely on a better level than Parsons is. It's just more tested at this point. And then, we got some really interesting numbers here, man. But that +1600, dude, isn't that crazy? I can't. That's just nuts, man. How does that even? Wow, that's a great, and dude, we got my guy Kalanzis in the room, dude. What's happening, dude? This is one of my oldest and dearest friends in the world. What up, Chris? Good to see you here, hanging out, man. He's always appreciating the content that I'm putting out, and then of course we got DFS by the numbers saying +1600. Dude, I like it too, Brady. That's way too wide. This guy subbed Tim Means. If you like Rodriguez by KO, it's -125, but submission is +1600. Where's the value? This guy Rodriguez has submitted people. As a matter of fact, 29% of his pro wins are by submission. That means he's got 3 out of 14 wins by submission, 16-1. And that line is off. That line is off. I might have to sprinkle that one as soon as I get off the air talking to you guys here. But yeah, those are some interesting lines, man. And then B saying my last sub bets ended in TKOs. They didn't tap. That's why money line for me. Yeah, that Paul Craig comes to mind, and then Virna Jandiroba comes to mind on those. Boy, I was on that Virna Jandiroba sub prop, man. And B saying Brady in the house, and yes, he is. We are blessed with his presence today. And Brady saying, "What's up, B? You rock, man. So good you guys are, dude. So good for you guys to come and hang. Oh, dude, my guy Alan's in the room. What's up, Alan? Dude, plus 1,600 is a crazy line, right? I mean, Alan agrees with me. Brady agrees with me. That is off. I'm going to have to hammer that. And you pricks better not hammer it before I do. If I log off and I see that this went down to plus 1,300, I'm blaming everybody that watched me for getting the line and that I'm telling you guys about, so we got David. Yeah, this is my guy, David. This guy whoops my ass in head-to-head DraftKings almost like 2/3 of the time. Appreciate the awesome stats. Dave, thanks for hanging out, man. It's good to see you in here with us, too. Who's Parsons? I know Rodriguez is a killer. Dude, Parsons trains out of Jacksonville, Florida. The guy has got 11 professional fights. He's finished all 9 of his professional wins by submission. He's got 1 loss by submission. He's got 1 loss by KO. And he's got an average fight time, Alan, of 4 minutes. So, yeah, this guy is a finisher. He puts on a great pace. The guy's a really good prospect. So this guy Parsons is not the type of guy that Rodriguez is just going to walk over. It's just that Rodriguez has a really good resume. He's fought some really top-level competition, and he's beaten fighters better than the guys that Preston Parsons has lost to. So, yeah, he says, get it while you can. I'm going to try to get it. And then Dave saying he's checking my bookie. So thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. I appreciate this. I think we went balls deep into all the numbers here. I am picking Daniel Rodriguez to win this. I've already got 2 units on him at minus 210. But I can hedge out if I feel like I just feel this line is getting too wide. I am also going to sprinkle at Daniel Rodriguez by submission at plus 1,600. You don't even have to put much money in to get paid off at that kind of an odds. So this is going to be a great fight, man. Preston Parsons, this kid is no joke. He's going to bring pressure, volume, wrestling. I love the under in this fight. I think it's a great parlay piece. So don't forget about that under as a parlay piece, minus 290. If you're on the Parsons side and you think that he's got a really good chance to beat Rodriguez, you can, instead of paying up minus 310 for Rodriguez, you can cover both sides, get this to finish inside the distance at minus 290, get a slightly better price, get over the long run, those kind of bets, they make a difference. They're a little bit safer. You get a little bit better odds on them, and it covers both sides because both of these guys are proven finishers. And at least with Parsons, we have somebody that's been finished inside the distance 100% of the time. Oh, yeah, and it's a great fight. And Wade saying, thanks for showing our guy Parsons a little love. Well, Wade would be really irresponsible of me to come in here and break down this fight for 33 minutes and not watch all the tape on Parsons. And it's the least I could do to watch all the tape on Parsons because the average fight time is fucking 4 minutes. So it only takes me 44 minutes to watch all the tape on Parsons. So I did that. And, there's no reason for me to not show this guy love because if you watch the way he fights, you can see why he's up here at this level. He's the kind of guy who could lose 3 fights in a row and he'd probably get a 4th because he brings such an exciting, volume-heavy style. It's the kind of shit that Dana White really loves to see. So I'm excited to see Parsons here. Yeah, I'm betting against him, but man, this guy can fucking see the tape on this guy to go out and walk. Check me out on Twitter at MMA Weezy. Thank you all for hanging out. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me here. God bless all you, and I'll catch you next time on Balls Deep Breakdown. But I think the next time I will be seeing you is on Stat Diggers, Pub Sports Radio, Sunday night with my guy DFS by the Numbers, 6:15 Central Time. See you guys there. Good luck on UFC Vegas 31.